Hello, and welcome to another edition of Your Therapist Needs Therapy, the podcast where two mental health professionals talk about their mental health journeys and how they navigate mental wellness while working in the mental health field. I'm your host, Jeremy Schumacher, licensed marriage and family therapist. Today is a special guest episode. I'm super stoked. This is a person who I met at Pride last year, and local Milwaukee, small business, all the cool things that I like to highlight. And we'll probably talk about religious trauma too, but we've got some cool stuff to talk about. Today, I am joined by B, owner and operator at Tres Ojos. We practice the pronunciation, and I'm just so white that I knew I was going to get it wrong. B, thanks for joining me today.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I adore you and everything that you do. So I'm super stoked to connect again. And I totally forgot we met at Pride. So that's awesome.
Yeah, we were stallmates. We had our little
Booth
setup
neighbors,
right next to each other. Yeah, we were booth neighbors, and it was lovely. I was doing religious trauma stuff, and you had a sign that said "Be gay and do witchcraft" right next to my booth. It just works really wonderfully together.
It works so well. You being dressed up as gay Jesus, and the sign was like really great for marketing and traffic for both of us.
Yeah, it was great. And then I got to check out your shop, and obviously working with Cece and the What the Hex market events have been awesome. Let's back up a little bit. We'll get to all of that cool stuff. B, if you don't mind, can you introduce yourself a little bit and talk about the work you do and how it is that's what you came to be doing?
Absolutely. So I am the owner of Tres Ojos. I am a professional bruja, which just means that I do witchcraft and magic full time. I create a lot of items to help people on their healing journey. So I do anything kind of like witchy, but also like jewelry, candles, sprays, anything and everything that I make is all intention and magic based. And so everything has a meaning as to why I'm making it and the reason that I'm making it. And then I also teach and host a lot of events. So like you said, I host What the Hex, which I am the co-host of. And so those are seasonal witch markets that I do. I also teach tarot. I run meditations. I host cacao ceremonies. I teach how to do spell work and things like that. I do everything and anything you can think of under the umbrella of magic, witchcraft, which is all really just like energy work. Those are all just like terms that kind of like I intertwine and interchange with each other. And then the basis of everything that I do is to do no bullshit spirituality. So I'm not here to like tell you need stuff or tell you that you're cursed and blah, blah, blah when you're not. And then I also make sure that I make everything modernized and accessible. A lot of the times I feel like when it comes to any of this like magical, spiritual, witchy world, it can make it seem like you need a lot of things in order to heal or succeed, and you don't. And then I would say another thing that I do differently is that I always tell people to go to therapy. As someone that suffers from mental health, and I'm very vocal about it, I share my good days, I share my bad days, I share all of my diagnoses and everything that I have and hold. And so I like to be transparent about that, because the more I share about myself, the more that people will know that it's like normalized and that it's normal to have mental health things. But also I am very, very firm at like, you don't just need spirituality, you also need therapy. You also need to know that those are not things that are interchangeable. So I am very good at like with my energy sessions and my energy workings of like making sure that I do everything that like I am able to do, and not any of the things that I'm not trained in, and not any of the things that I'm not, that I didn't go to get to school for like y'all did. And so I like to make sure that I always am like, yeah, here's like a list of therapists to also use hand in hand with everything that I do too, which is why it was so awesome meeting you and to put you on. Just like to have as a resource, like it's been so awesome. Like, you want trusted people, especially trusted men, to be honest, like that list is like 2 people. So it's like very low. So those are all things that are super important to me that I like to do my workings around.
Yeah. And I'm excited. I mean, I'm happy to, you've offered a space for me to be at some of the What the Hex events. I'll be at the one that's coming up here. But also I think it's important as somebody who works in religious trauma to highlight like, hey, here are spaces, here are people to look for, here are the things to look out for when you are looking for a healthier, a more holistic spirituality. because I tell people often, like, I'm not opposed to religion. It's a lot of the colonized hierarchical bullshit that comes along with organized religion that
1,000%, yes.
that's where the harm comes from. And so I wanted to reach out with you, talk to you, and be able to say, like, yeah, what is this no bullshit part? Because I think so many people hear things like witchcraft, hear things like magic, and certainly there's a trend, I would say, in pagan spaces over the past couple of years that I've noticed towards witchiness as a vibe. But then some of the indigenous practices and some of the things that maybe are more natural or more connected to nature, that I think, like, that's what people are looking for when they leave organized religion. When I see people who are ex-evangelicals or ex-Catholic, ex-Mormons, like, they're interested in things that are natural. They're interested in things that are a little bit more indigenous based. So can you talk, that was a really rambly question, but when you say no bullshit spirituality, when you are somebody who is, practicing spirituality, what does that mean on your end?
Yeah, absolutely. So the basis of that would be like, I am always screaming about cultural appropriation. Like, holy shit, is westernized spirituality like founded on, just appropriating everything. I try and do it in a way where I'm not just being a bitch about it and just saying you suck because of this, because that just makes people mad. But being like, let's educate you on why this is wrong and what are alternatives that you can do. Super basic things like white sage, super basic things like understanding that you should always start with your own culture and start there. And then if you are questioning whether you should or shouldn't be able to do something, then research it or ask somebody. Ask me. If I don't know the answer to it, then I'm more than happy to find out an answer. So a huge part is that the making sure that we're not appropriating and that we're focusing on your own culture, and also like being kind to the earth and all of that. And then also making sure that we are not treading the line of spiritual psychosis. Yes, I believe in that we are all able to work our spiritual gifts. I really do believe that we're all able to be in tune on different levels. But I will never feed into things that tread on that line of spiritual psychosis, which I see a lot. A lot of like, so-and-so told me that I need to do this. If it is negative, it's not spirit. It's not your ancestors. It's not your deities. It is not. Like, you really have to know the difference between like positive spiritual experiences that you're having with anybody that you're doing any work with, if that's what you do, or whether you need to see somebody to get that extra help if you're getting any of those negative thoughts, because that is the difference between like truly being in your gifts and spiritual psychosis. Is like, if it's negative, it's wrong. Like, we're not doing that. We're not hurting ourselves, and we're not hurting other people. So I would say that's the biggest thing of where I'm no bullshit. I'm not here to like lie to you. When I do tarot readings, I'm not here to like give you fluffy little, oh, your life is so great. Like, I'm here to hold space for you and to challenge in the way that you're thinking and the way that you are, the way that you're treating yourself. I guess a huge part of the foundation of everything that I do is like, it sounds so cliche, but like self-love is such a root of everything. And that's super hard for people because we were not taught that. So we are completely changing our brain to try and put ourselves first when our entire life we were told to put everybody else first. And so having that change really allows you to know how to fill your cup before you're able to pour into other people.
Yeah. Have you seen sort of the witchy vibes? I left, gosh, when did I leave organized religion? Almost 8 years ago now. So like, I'm a newbie to it. And so maybe I'm just noticing the trend as somebody who's newer to it, but definitely seeing some of that. I'll speak as a white person here, like white women in pagan spaces doing some like culturally questionable things, white dudes definitely like doing patriarchal, hierarchical bullshit. I see a lot of that even in some of the pagan spaces that I've been in. But is there like a cultural shift around an openness or an appreciation for some of the witchcraft stuff, or is it vibes based? Everyone likes Halloween, so we're trying to do Halloween year round.
I would say it's a little bit of all of the above.
Okay.
I would say like right around like COVID time was like the hype of like crystals and all of that stuff. And that's how I started doing this. Like I was super stoked. I was like, yes, rocks, I'm going to do this. Like, and I love it. And that's really how I started. And I will always love crystals. But I guess to kind of like answer what you're saying is like, it is definitely kind of trended a little bit upward towards there. I will say like even through my journey, like I started dabbling into spirituality as part of my sobriety journey. My wife and I started this business around the same time. We each got sober from alcohol on our own and from drugs as well. And so we kind of decided to start our own journey separately, and then they kind of merged together, and then the business kind of merged with that too. And so understanding like, oh, if I'm not using things and I kind of do like different like rituals or things to like ground myself, like I feel less like the world is falling apart and like I can make it through. And so while doing that, I will say that like I've had experiences where I've had men and other people who are really on this power dynamic of like, I insert any sort of bullshit label here. Like I am a shaman, a priest, whatever the fuck. And who try really hard to tell you that this is the way that you need to do things. You need to buy all these things. You need to do things this way. And so I have had those experiences, and that's something I try so hard to navigate people away from. As much as like, I try to be very business neutral and be not like necessarily just be like, these people suck. I try really hard to promote the people that I do agree with. And then I'm like, you are doing this right. So yeah, within all that, I see it all the time of people doing things that they're not supposed to be doing. And I'll say 50-50. Half of the time people truly don't know, like genuinely don't know. Sure. I will say a lot of times it's like older people who like, well, this is how I was taught and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, okay, well, like, let us dissect why this is wrong. And then the other part is I think that people don't care. So I see both sides. I see all of the things. I see, when you think about basic witch, basic crystal, whatever, like you're thinking about like chakras and you're thinking about like burning sage and whatever. And like all of those things are okay in as long as you're like dissecting, like, where's the sage coming from? Why are we burning this? Not white sage because it's endangered. So what else are things that we can burn? Where do chakras come from? Like here we have a very westernized approach with like a lot of that stuff roots from like yoga and things that people are being taught there. So I think I see all of the things. I definitely am like okay with people being like, I'm attracted to this because of the vibe. I like the aesthetic of this. But also just like making sure that you are appreciating where things come from and researching where you're getting things from. And so I'd say I see a little bit of everything. I will say now more than ever we are more open to these kinds of conversations. You're seeing these types of stores and these type of events now more than ever, which is great. We do need more spiritual practices, but just like organized religion, this shit can get real culty. This shit can get real bad, real dark, real quick. So all the sides to it.
Well, and it's interesting, right? Because I've been a therapist and worked in the mental health field for a long time. And like, I mean, we have so much research that says people's mental health is deteriorating just across all demographics. And that peaked a lot during COVID. But also we know church attendance is way down and like organized religion is hemorrhaging people. And so people are looking for a way to connect. People are looking for like ritual isn't something that belongs to organized religion. Organized religion use ritual because it's hardwired into our human brains to participate in ritual. That's how our brains and our bodies can experience something together. And so I think there is this desire certainly for people to find a way to connect and to cultivate or create meaning for some of these things in a way that is more authentic or is more aligned with their ethics than whatever, geographic religion they happened to be born into.
Yeah, absolutely. It's very silly to me when I have people that are church-based be very against the things that I do, because it's like, you look at church rituals, You're drinking the blood and the body of Christ. You're blowing out birthday candles. We're, all of these things that it's like, those are all spells. Words are spells. Everything that you say is like things that you're, like I believe in prayer my own way, but like we are praying things, we are manifesting things. These are all like interchangeable terms. So it's super interesting getting even all the sides of that as well, of like people assuming that I'm always anti any people believing in God or that word or that verbiage, because to me, it's whatever you want it to be. Universe, God, goddess, all interchangeable words. Like I am against anybody who tells you that what you believe is wrong. And I'm somebody who super suffers from religious trauma too. I grew up a little bit Catholic and then switched to Mormonism. Like, what the fuck is that? And then like didn't do that. And now I'm a witch, like super nuts. So I feel like I've had every aspect of that too. And a lot of my clients have also had very similar things. We're just very like, very heavy religious trauma and the basis of that is like being told that you have to live your life this way. Otherwise you're going to hell. Right. So
yeah. And I think, it's people sometimes leave the church, but how I sort of describe it is like they leave the beliefs, but not the church structure, or like they, they take the hierarchy with them. And I think it's something where like approaching spirituality from a decolonized lens, it's much different than just not being part of an organized religion. And so looking at, right, where are the actual materials coming from? What culture is this coming from? What's the heritage from this? How is that practiced respectfully, ethically? Because again, like, I was raised Lutheran in Southeast Wisconsin, like very white, very dull. Like there is no, for me, like ancestral heritage is pretty devoid of any meaning. It's been sanitized and like, whatever Jesuits came over and stole a bunch of lands, like, yeah, that's probably the heritage I'm coming from. And so it's hard to connect to some of those things. And so, when I left organized religion and found some of the paganism and some of the Druid stuff, like it was all very appealing because there's a comfort to some of the organization. But then sometimes you're like, oh, well, this is still the same issues that organized religion has, because we've got different levels of Druids, or we have different levels of whatever. And that like you find that hierarchy just repeating itself because people are not necessarily decolonizing the work they're doing. They're just leaving the belief system out.
1,000%. Yeah. And I think that that's one of the biggest things is like, you're giving me a red flag if you are immediately like allowing yourself to enter any conversation with like, these are my certifications and this is my label. And I was like, whatever. The biggest thing about like knowing whether spaces are safe or not is like being treated as an equal. Like I run things and I hold spaces, but I will never be like, I am the leader of you and your feelings. Like I'm not, I am a spiritual healer in the sense of holding space. I'm not doing the healing for you. And that's the biggest thing is that like, people like to think that they hold the power to do these things when you don't. You are just helping facilitate the spaces for people to do their own work. So I think that's the biggest thing there.
Yeah. And I think, that speaks in therapy jargon, like talking about informed consent, like that people get to make their decisions. You might come with a wealth of knowledge and you're willing to share that knowledge, but it's not inscribing knowledge onto people. It's not saying you have to do it this way because I know I'm right. It's here, let me help you make a good decision that works well for you.
I love that.
And I think, I see, this is true, I think, with religious trauma, but like I see it in wellness spaces too. Like licensed therapist means something, but then there's a whole wild west of these ideas around life coaches and healers. And, I've done a lot of training around psychedelics because I think whenever it gets legalized, it'll be an important part of therapy. And like, but I see a lot of that stuff too, where, shamans and some of the
1,000%.
healers.
And that's a huge appropriation thing too, 1,000% within there, within people thinking that they can capitalize any sort of like, what are the biggest things that we see? Any sort of like ayahuasca stuff. Like, why are you doing that here? Why do you feel like you are qualified to do that thing at all? Like we can definitely use plant medicine in a safe way to help you excel 1,000%, but that 1,000% is in wellness spaces where people are doing weird stuff in back rooms without having like true like ethical responsibility behind that and what that means. And so, that gets hard.
Yeah. And I think, we're in Wisconsin, so I'll like talk about Aaron Rodgers for a sec, but like, right, you have a bunch of like wealthy white dudes who, say they had a mystical experience or, they had that awakening kind of thing. And I'm not begrudging anybody that experience, but then that becomes like the $4,000 retreat for 4 days to do an ayahuasca ceremony in some country where it isn't illegal like it is in ours, but like no thought of the culture, no thought of like ethically sourcing those things. And it becomes, again, like this almost sanitized version, this colonized version really of what was a medicinal and a ritual practice.
1,000%. Like there's definitely things that are like open to people. And I think that the way that you're taught is like stating that is super beautiful. Like, where is this coming from? Like, why did we get here? Like, yes, it's amazing we had this experience, whatever, but like, let's make sure that we're giving credit where credit is due of like who brought this here, where the work was made for you to be able to do that. And also like, understand that you're very privileged to be able to just like go and do that. Like you literally just like paid to have a spiritual awakening. You know what I mean? Like that's, I'm glad, and I'm not taking that away from him, but for sure. It's always just like, it's hard trying to essentially just making sure that you're trying to like filter everything so that it's like entering people's brains in an ethical way of like, cool, we can do some of these things, but let's also make sure that we're like dissecting and researching things too.
What has it been like your experience in just like the Milwaukee area around spirituality and some of these things? Because I'll just share, for me, it's been weird to promote religious trauma because I don't feel like a lot of people in the area talk about, maybe don't use that lingo. I think people who have experienced it relate right away, but it's from, as a business owner, it's been hard to promote that side of things because it's still very sort of it's just privileged to be religious and white and Christian, I would argue, but like that's the Midwest sort of, I think, cultural piece to it still. What's it been like for you as a business owner with a metaphysical shop is what Google calls it, what sort of space do you find people are sort of coming to work with you or finding the work that you do?
So I see kind of the side of like similar to yours where like so we are in West Milwaukee is where my storefront is. I do not get any, I won't say any because thank you to anybody who's like around here that actually does come, but for the most part, it's not like foot traffic. It's not like people being excited. If anything, like the city gave us lots of trouble opening up. Like, I don't think that we were necessarily wanted here and that's okay. Like, that's all right. I think it's confusing to people. And so I see all the sides on this issue as well, where it's like, I'm very grateful that there's a lot of, especially within the BIPOC wellness community, of people really trying to make sure that we are sticking together and making sure that we are promoting each other, collabing with the right people and things like that, so that we are not getting, but we don't get like the same support as like other people do. Like there are shops close by that that make 1,000 times more, that get a lot more traffic, that get a lot more anything. And at the end of the day, it's because of the aesthetic. It is because you walk in somewhere and it is full to the brim with a bunch of wholesale bullshit. And I don't do that. And so the people that come in here and get it right away. But some people, like I hear all the time, like of like, oh, have you been to that one real witch shop? I'm like, are you serious right now? Like what considers real to you? Like being full with a bunch of bullshit? Like people don't know. I think it's a lot of people don't know things. But as far as like clientele and stuff, I think it's a lot of people who want to work on themselves in a different way. Like, and also I think a lot of the times when I enter that conversation of therapy with people too, it's also telling people that like, you don't have to settle for one that sucks. Like, that's just the same with me. Like, if you don't vibe with me, like I'll give you a whole list of people that I vouch for. Like, and it's just like everything is trial and error. Like the types of things that you're doing is trial and error. And so it's business wise, I think it's hard. It's hard. It's a weird time in the world. I feel nuts like promoting stuff as everything is going on right now. So I'm, I always try and make sure that I do what I can to be vocal about my beliefs and what I feel like we can do as a community too. So I feel like that. Does that kind of answer the question?
Yeah, I think, it's there's still Milwaukee and Madison here in Wisconsin are like the progressive spaces, but from a religious perspective, in December, you're going to drive around and still see a bunch of nativity scenes. Like it's still sort of the cultural norm. It's not based on anything, but like that's still sort of where things are at, even where you're talking about like opening a business and whether the city is supportive of it or not. I think my experience working with late diagnosed neurodivergent folks and working a lot with the queer community, there's a lot of natural overlap between people who are looking for authentic, non-hierarchical spiritual practices. I think part of that is being queer in culturally hegemonic sort of patriarchal space like America, where white men have been in charge of stuff for far too long. But also I think the neurodivergent part is like not looking for something that's real prescriptive, looking for something that is a little bit more outside the box or is something that you can build to suit your own needs. And I think, segueing into the what the hex markets, like building that community is really important because it's not something that people always, leave a church or leave an abusive setting and then they just find like something that fits better. You sometimes have to build that community from the ground up. So how did that play into starting the what the hex markets? And you talk about collaborating with the right people, like talk a little bit about, we've got one coming up, December 7th, like talk a little bit about how the idea came together and then maybe let's bring it to the present moment of the upcoming one.
Yeah, so I co-host What the Hex with Cece. So Cece owns Batty Studio, and we have our businesses together here at the storefront. And so we decided to start a seasonal witch market for a couple of reasons. One, I started my business by doing a million pop-ups. I love being out in the community and I love doing stuff, but it's really hard to find either like sometimes I'm like too weird or I'm too alternative or I'm too witchy or whatever. And like, I don't ever want to dull myself down. And so creating a space where like witchy was the vibe, witchy was like, this is what it's about spiritual things, about things in that category, in that realm. And then also making sure that we are people who are running a show that give a fuck. We have done a lot of shows, do a lot of shows where people are just there to like take your money and that's it. Like you show up, here's the space, like that's what you paid for. And so there's a lot more to it that we do. We try to really make sure that we're like reaching out to community and letting them know that like, hey, when you come here, one, you're going to get all people that we vouch for. So all of that appropriation that I talked about before, like literally says on our application, like we do not fuck with appropriation. Like if there's anything that I find that I cannot get a solid answer as to where it's from, did you make this, whatever, then like it's not going to be there or you're not going to be there. So you can trust all the vendors that are there, which is huge, whether they're giving you services or whether they are selling their items, all things that are vouched for and all people that we hand selected for that. We also do free offerings. So for this one, we've got like tea light craft that we're doing. And then we also are having like a free wrapping station. So anything that you buy at the market, you can then go downstairs and get it wrapped. We essentially are trying to provide a space for a community of like-minded folks. So people who want to do witchy spiritual things, people who want to be in the vibe of like a coven without having something so super organized. Like we're just there to host a good time. Everything is always like themed. So this one is tithings and traditions. So this is like really about like, what do you hold true to this holiday season within your vibe, within your practice, which looks different for everybody. So this one is on Sunday, so December 7th. And so I'm really excited about that. The market is in Cudahy at Dresden Castle. So that place is awesome to have that event there at.
Yeah.
And so we also prioritize queer and BIPOC vendors too. So a lot of the folks that you'll meet with are one of those. And so I basically just wanted to do something where people cared about what they were doing, which is so crazy. But yeah, every little detail like matters. And it's always a really great time for people to like connect. You can like, this is a really great place for you to like see like different readers or different people that offer different kinds of services so that you can kind of like get to know people and see whether these are people that you want to work with. And I'm super stoked to have you there again as a resource. Holiday vibes, like people will love to talk to you about religious trauma.
I joke. It's not even a joke. Just my practice from November to December is all family of origin drama and stress around meeting people's expectations that aren't really based on anything. So I even just love the theme of this gathering. We're coming off of, the very awkward holiday that is Thanksgiving, of the whitewashing of a genocide.
Mm-hmm.
And then like the commercialism that follows it with Black Friday sales and all the spending that goes along with it. And so like a market that is designed to be local and have vendors who are vetted to make sure they fit and they're doing things in a healthy and sustainable way. And then also just talk about like traditions, not that like colonized or sanitized, devoid of any meaning version. We just do it this way because we've always done it this way. But being like, yeah, meaning making is up to us. We get to create our own meaning. And if we have traditions that suck or we have traditions that don't vibe with us, we can do something different.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the timing of this is absolutely perfect. I just like always feel that collective holiday stress. And it's so hard because it's like now more than ever, like we're still being pressured to spend money on bullshit. And it's like, it's like gift giving is beautiful, like buying things that matter, buying beautiful artwork, buying things that people have put love, time, and effort into is very different than big box garbage that we're getting. And so there's a lot of ethical layers to that too, of like you're supporting local small business, which is where we need to be keeping our money in the first place. And also buying stuff that like was sustainably, ethically, intentionally made, which is going to hit a lot harder to whoever the receiver is than whatever else you would get elsewhere. So.
Yeah. And it's such, we kicked off the episode talking about like meeting at Pride, but like it's these different sort of nodes that you can connect with people, and finding somebody at the market who, does tattoo work or who creates things, or I'm drawing a blank. Blotspan does the antler art, and then also like makes their own mead and all this cool stuff. Like there are all these different connections that you make, and then you give that as a gift, or you support that business, and that person that you give that gift to goes, oh, like this is incredible, and they're going to go check out their storefront or whatever. And I think it's what people are looking for in anti-capitalism and decolonized spaces, our community. And it's like, right, that's what this is. This is not capitalism, come spend your money here. This is like, come meet cool people who are aligned and check out their work and support them in whatever way makes sense to you. Like that's how you actually get the community that you're looking for.
Yeah, absolutely. Those community connections are made based on like being in a space where people are all like trying to be on the same type of vibe and like hanging out with each other and talking and having those conversations. And that is like the most beautiful thing that I see. Like anytime I like get on the stage and I just look around and I'm like, this is the part that was like worth it, where I see people just like geek to find things that are very within their vibe or their culture or their anything like that you don't just see every day. And so that is super important. And that's also like what helps us as like artists, business owners is like word of mouth is my biggest thing, is you telling people about it. You telling people about my store or my market or anything is the biggest way to support your community without having to spend a penny. It is so huge for your just conversations to start in that way. And I think now more than ever, we need that. We need to be in spaces that feel safe and that feel really just like where you can be yourself too. Yeah. Which also I'm going to bring this up because I didn't like post about it, so I don't think there's any way that you would know about it, but I wish that you were at the last Hex, because it was the first time that I had protesters protest against us, and it was during our Dia de los Muertos event, and they made it really, really, it was hard because it was obviously like Dia de los Muertos is a, Mexican based holiday that is like a lot of, we had a lot of people within that culture coming into the space, lots of Hispanic, Latino folks, and having a bunch of weird white people outside holding signs and being weird, like, is super sketchy now more than ever. And so that sucked. They also didn't know what they were protesting. So they were against, I guess, us worshiping ancestors, which always fucking gets me. Like, I saw something the other day that was like, so your grandma is a demon? Is that what you think? Like, because that's what we're honoring. Like, we're just, so that was our first time we ever had that. And I think that you would have been a really excellent person to go outside to have a conversation with them.
The 6'3" guy who looks like white Jesus. Yeah. No, it's, well, and we met at Pride. Like, I gave a bunch of my cards to the protesters outside Pride, because there are always protesters outside Pride. But like, again, I think it's I'm throwing a lot of shade at white people, deservedly so. But like, it is one of those spaces where, like, as a straight presenting white male, like, those are things that I want to step up for. Those are things that I want to, like, right. I don't have a problem stepping outside and talking to protesters. I'll talk to like the protesters at Pride and be like, hey, when you want to stop being a bigot, you can call me, because you're just suffering from religious trauma. Like, you're trying to inflict on other people. And like, that's not a great way to fill my business, but that's not what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to show people that, like, hey, it's okay to come in here. Like, you are safe, you are loved, like, fuck these bigots. Probably also just like deeply racist because of the
1,000%.
The fascist movement against demonizing whatever.
Yeah.
Marginalized
and they're out
community.
here more than ever now, for sure. Yeah. And they were also like handing out, like that, like anti-witchcraft stuff, which is like, you can believe whatever you want to believe, but it was just like, you didn't know what was actually happening.
Yes. So if you're not queer or neurodivergent or a witch, but you still want to come, like, again, there's space for, again, just being sometimes that like overtly straight white dude who can go to and make people feel safe too.
1,000%. And I will say, like, those were definitely the people who stepped up and who were like, I can go and stand outside to make sure people feel safe. And like, and my wife is still out there, and she's brown and tattooed, face tattoos everywhere. She still stayed out there and was making sure and being like, you can come inside. Are you okay? Like, you don't have to take the paper that they are giving you. Like, but that's what it takes, is just everyone doing their part when you see something happening everywhere.
Yes. Well, and again, I mean, I think the cultural consciousness around things like community and what does mutual aid actually look like while we're still dealing with late stage capitalism. And like, again, that's what this is. This is participating in community. It is your neighbors who are going to be there to help you out in the case of a natural disaster, in the case of an authoritarian regime coming into town. Like, that's who we need to connect with, is the people who we live by.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think it was maybe David Cross, the comedian, who has talked about just replacing spells and chants for thoughts and prayers. Because again, I mean, the privilege of white Christians in this country to demonize and to try and marginalize other communities, just like, it's just a deeply misplaced approach to, you talked about self-love, like they can't love themselves, and so they try and interrupt it for everyone else too.
Yeah. It's like, there's so many other things that you can be doing with your time. Like, going to do something good would have been really awesome to do instead.
Or like, just fucking stay home and watch the Packers and like enjoy your life that way. I don't know.
Yeah, because it was everybody who like has religious trauma also that was like, this is weird. I'm like, I know.
Okay, so the one Dresden Castle, which is down in Cudahy, if you're not familiar with Dresden Castle, it's like a converted church. Like, it's an old church building. It's very beautiful. As somebody with religious trauma and who works with religious trauma, I still hold very much a soft spot for church buildings being very cool spaces.
Yep. Stained glass,
It's a very beautiful space. It's a very cool space. But how, if people can't make it this weekend, how often are we running the markets? Where can people go to not just connect with What the Hex, but also follow your work and some of the services you offer? How can people connect?
Yeah, so I am on Instagram and Facebook under Tres Ojos with the app is TR3S period OJOS. So you can find me that way. I also have a website too. And yeah, so all socials I'm on there. And then I have all of the What the Heck stuff connected to there as well. So the markets are done seasonally. Excuse me. And then we also have events that we do on smaller scale here at the shop. So those are always posted on socials as well. I've got tickets on websites for everything that I'm doing there. And then we're also always open to hold anything that you as a community want to come and host to, whether you want to come and host any sort of like craft workshop, any sort of lecture thing or anything too. I'm always here to listen to what your ideas are, because that is how we grow together as a community, is by helping each other out wherever we can. And I've got a space. And so I would love if other people hit me up for that too.
Yeah, for sure. And Omen is in the shop, so you can always come in
Yeah.
and see the black cat.
Yeah. I'm surprised she didn't come harass me right here. She's sleeping. I see her.
We will we'll have the links for the socials and for the What the Hex event coming up in the show notes, so people can find that super easily. And yeah, if you're like totally new and you haven't heard of any of this stuff, like come check it out. It's a good vibe. It's a good time. I don't know. I'm attending and also didn't review it a ton before recording here, but like there's a food truck last time. Food
yeah,
truck
there's food.
Yeah.
There's alcoholic drinks, NA drinks. There's a bakery person. So you can also just like come and hang out too. There are like little tables and stuff for you to just sit. You can always come introduce yourself to me. I would love to talk to anybody about anything too. And yeah, if there's anything that you specifically like want to dive into, I can always like connect you with other people that are there too. That might be your vibe.
Yeah. It's again, awesome community, very cool event. Come hang out December 7th and follow B's work on socials. We'll have all that stuff listed so people can check it out. B, thanks so much for A, doing all your work in the community, but B, taking the time to chat with me today.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate you and all the work that you do too. You're super important, and I really value you and always being a voice where it needs to be. So thank you so much.
Hooray, community. And to all our wonderful listeners, thanks for tuning in again this week. We'll be back next week with another new episode. Take care, everyone.